Will you look at that? 2 additional live service games have been cancelled from the pipeline at PlayStation Studios. This new report from Bloomberg's Jason Schreier sheds some light on how Bluepoint Games and Bend Studios' new projects were scrapped after a recent review, taking them back to the drawing board for whatever comes next for them. Here's the problem. Both of these studios have a long-standing legacy of delivering great single-player games as many of the other studios from the PlayStation family. Bluepoint Games has, for the most recent years, been given the task of remaking or remastering many of the beloved IPs from others, while Bend Studio has a long legacy with the Siphon Filter franchise and a controversial last game with Days Gone. Force any of those studios into developing a multiplayer game, something that they're clearly not passionate about, is setting them up for failure, or at least putting them at risk given the high expectations of the shareholders to cash in with the big live service trend. I'm not saying that as a studio you can't try to experiment with new things. If that were the case, we would never have the Horizon series come to fruition because Guerrilla was very well known for its first-person shooter series Killzone. That's not the point. Risking for the pure loss of money making will always be a high risk, high reward in video games. But picking the right studio to face the task and letting them be unconstrained by the shareholders' expectations of where the company should go instead of where the ambitions of that studio are leading them to is the key to success. And the clearest example of this is Helldivers 2, which has become PlayStation's fastest selling game ever. Let us raise our cups of liberty. What really worries me is the state of Bluepoint Games and Bend Studio after this. I think Bluepoint Games will land on their feet a little bit better since they had a great hit with Demon's Souls remake at the beginning of the PS5 era. But Bend Studio has a bitter pill to swallow. We know they pitched the sequel for Days Gone, one of my favorite video games here in the channel, but sadly this one was shut down and they were forced into a multiplayer project live service for several years. With this second cancellation, Bend Studio has been effectively in a drought for 6 years without even publishing a new game. I'm concerned about the studio morale right now after 2 cancelled games. All of this because Sony can't make up its mind about what's really on their best interests in their future path, resulting in sending studios left and right to the chopping block by chasing a trend that they clearly are not well suited for. On the bright side, it seems that these cancellations, along with Last of Us multiplayer game and the Condor disaster, point at PlayStation straightening the path by consistently playing the Uno reverse card on everything that Jim Ryan did during his past time as the CEO of PlayStation, effectively trying to erase any trace of his businessman legacy that has doomed 2 studios already after what can arguably be the biggest flop in live service history. And I'm looking at you, Anthem. That was a very difficult task to achieve. I know that being a CEO is all about bringing cash into the business, but video game development is a whole different beast where, besides the business mentality, you also need to have sensitivity and passion for playing, living and breathing video games, something Jim Ryan clearly lacked. It's time for PlayStation to go back to its roots and forget the live service fiasco. And to that, I can only say, good riddance.